2 million years ago, a hand reached on. Not your hand, but the same identical to yours, with the same five finger, with the same curve of the palm, with the same instinct to grip. It picked up a stone and struck it with another, and watched a razor thin flake fall away. That edge, that single deliberate edge, was sharper than any fingernail, sharper than a kitchen knife, and it changed everything. So tonight, we go to the place where that hand dropped that stone, a narrow gorge in northern Tanzania, where the earth split open and kept every secret. This is Olduvai Gorge. Here's what you have probably been told. Somewhere in Africa, at some single dramatic moment, the first human stood up. It looked around and civilization began. One place, one moment, one ancestor. That story is totally wrong, and the truth is far more interesting. Human origins are not a single flame. They are 1,000 embers scattered across the continent, lit over millions of years. Olduvai Gorge is not the birthplace of humanity. It is something better. It is the most detailed chapter we have been able to read. Think of it this way: if all of human history, from the first stone tool to the phone in your pocket, were compressed into a single calendar year, agriculture would appear on 31st December 11:58 pm and writing at 11:59 pm. The entire Industrial Revolution, the first 4 seconds before midnight, Olduvai Gorge hold the 1st of January. To understand what happened here, we need to travel back, not just in time, but in geology. 2 million years ago, East Africa was not the Africa we know. The Great Rift Valley was tearing the continent apart, slowly, violently, over millions of years, creating new lakes, tilting plains, pushing forests back and pulling grassland forward. It was a world in constant motion. And in that instability, something remarkable appeared. Primates who could not outrun predators, could not outclimb leopards, could not survive in any single fixed environment, were forced to adapt or vanish. The gorge itself became the geological clock. Volcanic eruption, dozens of them over hundreds of thousands of years, sprinkled ashes across the landscape like the pages of a calendar. Each layer sealed whatever was below it. Tools, bones, footprint, frozen in time waiting for someone to dig. That someone appeared in the 28th century. Her name was Mary Leakey, and she was the most patient scientist who ever worked on dirt. While her husband Louis attracted headlines and camera, it was Mary who spent weeks, sometimes months, on her hands and knees with paintbrush, cleaning dirt from the bones, one grain at a time. Her notebook are extraordinary documented millennials instruction of tools position, layer depth, soil color, the precise angle of every soil. Science, she understood, was not glamorous. It was attention. And attention rewarded her. In 1959, a layer of sediment nearly 2 million years old, Mary Leakey uncovered a skull which belongs to a creature she and Louis called Zenjanthropus, the nutcracker man, with massive back teeth designed to grind the toughest plant food on the savanna. It was the first hominin skull found at Olduvai, and it wrote the timeline of human evolution overnight. But the nutcracker man was just the pick up a rock, and now imagine it striking harder at a precise right angle, and watch a razor thin flake fall away. That flake is now a tool, not an accident, but a choice. The creature that made this choice was Homo habilis, the handyman, the earliest member of our own genius, discovered here at Olduvai by the Leakeys in 1960s. Smaller than us, a brain roughly half the size of yours, but capable of something that no other human had ever done. They reshaped the physical world to solve a problem. These are called Olduvai tools, named for Olduvai, and they are the oldest technology on Earth. They don't look like much. Rough flake, crude chopper, but hold one in your hand, as researchers sometimes do in the field, and feel the edge. It is sharp enough to cut hide, crack bones, stripe barks. It is a Swiss army knife made of stone, and it expanded what a human could eat, dramatically and immediately. Here's the detail that changed everything. The tools were tough, the same striking angle, the same flaking pattern, repeated across generations. A child watching an elder imitating, improving. That small exchange, one hand passing a lesson to another, is the first evidence of cumulative culture, the mechanism that would eventually produce language, art, and everything that followed. Let's move forward in time, several hundred thousand years, and the actor on the stage has changed. Homo erectus stand before you, taller, broader, with a wider stand and a brain approaching two-thirds the size of a modern human. The body plan is recognizably ours. The gait is ours. The range of movement is ours. And the tools, they have become something new entirely. The clean hand axe is not a chopper or an improved flake. It is a designed object, symmetrical, balanced, shaped to a vision that existed in the maker's mind before the stone was struck. That gap between the raw material and the finished tool is a cognitive one. It requires planning, foresight, and possibly the ability to teach a complex mental image to someone else. At Olduvai, hand axes appear in layer, along with butcher animals' bone in patterns that suggest something extraordinary. A place where group return repeatedly to process food together, not just eating, gathering, sharing, coordination. This is quite the beginning of a society. Imagine the first night someone did not run from the fire. Everything instinct said, flee. Every predator in the savannah feared the flame. But somewhere, at some point, one of our ancestors stopped and sat down and fed the fire for the first time. And everything changed. The food that could be cooked, the warmth that allowed sleep, the light that held off the dark, the circle of faces around the flame, the first social architecture of human life. Did this happen at Olduvai? And here's the honest answer. We are not certain. The ash layer whisper, redundant sediments, burned bones, hearth-like cluster of rock, but volcanic activity can mimic fire. And the evidence here is subtle, suggestive, not conclusive. Every claim is measured against meticulous geological analysis. What Olduvai does give us is the trajectory. The hominins here were getting closer, more complex tools, more organized, and more social structure. Mary Leakey's discovery at Olduvai did not just rewrote a timeline, they rewrote a question. Before Olduvai, the dominant scientists viewed placed human origin in Europe or Asia. After Olduvai, after the fossil, the tool, the dating, that viewed collapse, Africa was not the margin of human history. Africa was the origin. That shift had conquest for beyond paleontology. It changed how people across the world thought about who they were and where they came from. Olduvai Gorge is a conversation across time. The stones and bones here whisper about the hand that learned to make these edges, mind that learned to plan, and communities that learned to teach. Each layer of ash is a frozen moment, a catastrophic that becomes a gift, sealed that evidence for us to read 2 million years later. Mary Leakey once said, the excitement of archaeology is that it keeps revising what we thought we knew. Every excavation here nudges the story forward. Every new date pushes the timeline deeper. Every new fossil added complexity to a picture we once thought was simple. This is not frustration, this is the point. Our roots are deep, our paths are knotty, and our stories are unfinished. But Olduvai gave us one certainty, the impulse to make, to teach, to adapt. It did not begin with us, it began here in the narrow strip of Tanzania, under the same star our ancestors used to look up at. It is a world that teaches us how to survive. But Olduvai is only chapter 1. Next, we follow our ancestor to the Streekfontein cave, which is in South Africa. So, thank you for joining in today. See you next week with the new chapter of the story. Until then, be curious and keep questioning with history under the cap.